ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ಗೆ ತಮಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ನಾನು ಸಲೀಂ. Dear students, today we are going to study another important concept of BSc first semester zoology, that is morphology and reproduction in paramecium. So let's start the video. So first we are going to study about the classification of paramecium. So the paramecium, it belongs to the kingdom Protista, phylum Protozoa, class Ciliata, subclass Euciliata, order Holotricha, genus Paramecium, and the species Chordatum. So this is the diagram of paramecium. Okay, so now we are going to study with the introduction of the paramecium. It is commonly called a sleeper animalcule because the body is almost a sleeper shaped. It resembles like a sleeper of the females, so therefore it is commonly called sleeper animalcule, and it is a microscopic unicellular protozoan. It is made up of single cell, and you cannot see the paramecium with the naked eyes, and the size is about 0.3 micrometer, and it is found in freshwater habitat like lake, rivers, ponds, pools, etc. And as I told, the body is a sleeper shaped, and this body is covered by a firm elastic structure called pellicle, and you can see in this diagram. So here the part was mentioned pellicle, and the entire body is covered by cilia. Okay, so the entire surface is covered with the cilia, and what is the function of cilia? It helps in locomotion and capturing of food. So paramecium can migrate from one place to another place with the help of cilia, and also it helps in capturing of food. So I hope it is clear about the first slide. Now we'll move to the internal morphological structures, that is protoplasm. See, the protoplasm, it is divided into ectoplasm and endoplasm. Okay, so the protoplasm is divided into ectoplasm, you can see here, and the endoplasm. So outer ectoplasm, inner endoplasm, and a very important structure you can see now, it is called trichocyst. So trichocyst, it is present in the ectoplasm, and it is assumed to help in defense purpose. So it fight against the enemy. Okay, it is a very important part of the paramecium, which play a very important role to protect the paramecium against its enemies or predators. And then if you look at the nuclei, so as you can see in the picture, there are two important nuclei. One is micronucleus and another one is a macronucleus. So micro means a small nucleus and macro means large nucleus. So this is called dimorphic nucleus. So you can see there are two different types of nucleus: smaller micronucleus and larger macronucleus, and these nuclei play a very important role during sexual reproduction in paramecium. Okay, now, and if you look at the other structures, so the paramecium have two contractile vacuole, as you can see here, anterior contractile vacuole and a posterior contractile vacuole. So this is posterior contractile vacuole, this is anterior contractile vacuole, and if you just revise, so ectoplasm, endoplasm, micronucleus, macronucleus, cilia, pellicle, trichocyst. Okay, now what is the function of this anterior and posterior contractile vacuoles? So they helps in osmoregulation. What is osmoregulation? It is a process of maintaining of water and ionic balance inside the body. Okay, so water and ions, their concentration has to be balanced. So it is done by contractile vacuole. At the same time, it also helps in excretion in paramecium. So it performs two functions: osmoregulation and excretion. Then, if you look at the digestion, I mean the digestive canal. So first it include the oral groove, as you can see in the picture. So it's the oral groove through which the food enters, and it is followed by vestibule. Okay, it is a V-shaped space, and the vestibule opens into the cytosome. Okay, so oral groove leads to a V-shaped space called vestibule, and vestibule opens into a O-shaped chamber that is called cytosome, and the cytosome leads to the cytopharynx. Okay, so the cytosome leads to the next part called cytopharynx. Okay, so these are the important parts of the digestive canal of the paramecium. And then you can see that from this cytopharynx food vacuoles are formed, and the waste food goes out through the cytopage. Okay, so it's like a anus. So cytopage, you can say it is actually it's not anus, but you can assume like it functions like a anus. It helps in a removal of waste. Okay, so these are the different parts of the digestive canal. Now this is all about the morphology of paramecium. I hope you understood. Now we are going to focus the next concept, that is reproduction in paramecium. So in case of paramecium, it exhibit both sexual and asexual mode of reproduction. And asexual reproduction takes place by transverse binary fission, while the sexual reproduction takes place by conjugation. Okay, so we are going to study the asexual reproduction as well as sexual reproduction in detail. Okay, and I would like to mention here the paramecium, it also reproduced by other type of sexual reproduction like autogamy. So autogamy is also one type of asexual reproduction. It is seen in case of paramecium. Okay, so we are focusing on the conjugation in detail. Okay, now let us first discuss in detail about the asexual reproduction, that is binary fission. So you know that what is the meaning of asexual reproduction? A means one. So it's a type of reproduction which involve single parent, and here no gamete formation takes place. So we know that sperms and eggs, these are the gametes. So sperm is the male gamete, egg is the female gamete. These gametes are not at all produced, and only single parent is there. So don't say it is a male or female. So it's a single parent. So that performs the asexual reproduction. And here binary fission means it's a type of asexual reproduction where a parent cell divide and it produces two daughter cells. So bi means two, fission means divide. Okay, so the parent cell divide and produces the two daughter cells. And again, in binary fission there are different types. So particularly we can observe mainly three types of binary fission: irregular binary fission in case of amoeba, transfer binary fission in case of paramecium, and longitudinal binary fission in case of euglena. Okay, so we are focusing on the transverse binary fission in case of paramecium, and remember it is a most common type of asexual reproduction in paramecium, and it occurs during favorable condition. So when the environmental conditions are good and favorable for the paramecium, then only it reproduces the asexual method. Now you can see it is a diagram of the asexual reproduction, and here you can mainly observe there are two important nuclei. The smaller one, which is shown with the green color, so that is micronucleus, and the large one, a reddish color, it is macronucleus. So here, dear students, I just want to tell you that this micronucleus undergo mitosis. You know that mitosis is a type of cell division where two daughter cells are formed and chromosomes are equally distributed. Whereas the macronucleus undergo amitosis. So amitosis means it is also a type of cell division where the chromosomes are not equally distributed. Of course, it gives a two daughter cell, but the chromosome number, if you look at the chromosomal segregation, is random in case of this amitosis. And you can see the diagram now. This micronucleus, it is undergoing the different stages of mitosis, that is prophase, metaphase, anaphase and telophase, and it gives rise to two micronuclei. At the same time, the macronucleus also undergo amitosis. It produces the two daughter macronuclei. Now, so you can see this picture. So here you can see the presence of contractile vacuole. This is anterior contractile vacuole and this is the posterior contractile vacuole in the parent cell. Now when it is undergoing the division, you can see that two new contractile vacuoles are formed. So this is the statement. So contractile vacuoles are duplicated. Duplicated nothing but they get doubled. So in the parent cell, you can see that two contractile vacuoles are there. Now you can see in this diagram clearly. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So two original contractile vacuole and two newly formed contractile vacuoles will be there. At the same time, the other cell organelles also get duplicated. They get doubled. Okay. And finally, you can see in the middle, actually here it is not so clear, but here you can see the formation of a transverse constriction. So a transverse constriction will form that will cut the paramecium and it results in the formation of two daughter paramecia. Okay, so I hope it is clear. Just I will explain. First, the micronucleus undergo mitosis, macronucleus undergo amitosis. So you can see here amitotic division of macronucleus, mitotic division of micronucleus, and there is a disappearance of oral groove, vestibule, the digestive cavity get disappear, and you can see the newly formed oral grooves and two contractile vacuoles are also newly formed. The cell organelles get duplicated and a transverse or horizontal constriction will appear in the middle and that cut the paramecium into two daughter cells. Okay, and if you ask me the question, how much time is required to complete this process? So transverse binary fission, it requires about 2 hours for its completion, and in a single year you can see 600 generations are produced. So much huge, or you can say a rapid multiplication takes place. So within a year 600 generations are produced, and this is all about the asexual reproduction in paramecium. Now we will move to the sexual reproduction. As I told you, we are focusing on conjugation. So what is conjugation? Remember, conjugation is a mode of, or it is a type of sexual reproduction which involves a temporary fusion of two paramecia. For example, if we imagine it is a one paramecium and it is another paramecium, the two paramecium, they comes in contact with each other temporarily. Okay, so it is a temporary type of union, means it is only for a certain period of time. It's not a permanent union. Okay, and why these two paramecia they comes in contact with each other? Mainly for the exchange of their nuclear material. So during conjugation, so remember, first it is a sexual mode of reproduction. It involves a temporary union for a certain period of time. And what is the purpose of conjugation? It is mainly for the exchange of nuclear material. Okay, so I hope it is clear about the definition. And now the two paramecia they join at their oral surface. The oral surface of one paramecium and the oral surface of another paramecium, it comes in contact, and at the place of contact the ectoplasm get dissolved. Okay, so and at the same time the macronucleus get degenerated. So you can see that two structures will disappear. Ectoplasm will disappear, and also the macronucleus will get degenerated. Okay, and now you can ask me, sir, ectoplasm completely disappear? No, only at the point of contact it will disappear. And the micronucleus undergo two divisions, it forms four haploid nuclei. Okay, so I hope you got the point. If you didn't understood, now look at this diagram. So here I have shown this is a bigger one, that is macronucleus, and the small green color structures they are micronucleus. So what happens? First the micronucleus divides and it produces four daughter micronuclei, as you can see in this last structure. So, and here you can see that the size of the macronucleus gradually get decreases and it will disappear. Okay, so if you didn't understood, now you look at this picture, you can get more better idea. Okay, so here on the left side you can see it is an entire diagram of conjugation process. Suppose in exam, okay, if they ask you to draw the diagram, you can draw this diagram from 1 to the almost 14th steps it include. And now you can see on the right side I have given a half diagram. So this is the main event that you need to understood. Okay, ಇದನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. So now you can see that these are the two paramecia which are fused together through their oral surface, and each paramecium have a micronucleus and macronucleus. Now first they contact with each other, and now these two paramecium they are called conjugants. So remember this technical word. So these two paramecia which are fused for the purpose of nuclear exchange, they are called conjugants. And in each conjugant the macronucleus undergo degeneration and it will disappear. Okay, macronucleus disappear agbidutte, but the micronucleus will remain and it undergo division. And you can see here in the diagram, so earlier there is a single micronucleus, now you can see two micronuclei in each paramecia. Four micronuclei are formed in each paramecia, and you can see the macronucleus, it is slowly disappearing. Okay, so macronucleus will disappear, and from a single micronucleus four micronuclei are formed. So this is the same thing in the previous slide. So four daughter micronuclei formed and the macronucleus get degenerated. Now out of four, three of the micronuclei will get disappear in each conjugant. So you can see that so out of four, three will get disappear. And now how many remaining? Only one functional micronucleus will remain in each conjugant. And now this remaining nucleus it divide unequally and you can see that there is a small nucleus and there is a larger nucleus in each conjugate. Okay, so I hope you are getting confused. Let me explain you once again. See, the simple thing, remember, macronucleus, the large nucleus disappear. Okay, and the small nucleus, that is called micronucleus, it divides, it form the 4 micronuclei. Now out of these 4, 3 will get disappear and the remaining one, so this remaining one is called a functional micronucleus. This functional micronucleus divide unequally. You can see in the fifth stage. So one is smaller, one is larger. This smaller pronucleus is called male pronucleus, and this larger nucleus is called female pronucleus. Okay, small is male, larger one is a female pronucleus. Okay, now you can see this explanation. So out of 4, 3 nuclei will get degenerated. The remaining one micronuclei, it divides into 2, that is male pronucleus and the female pronucleus. So here, what is the unique character, dear students? Remember, so the smaller one is male, larger one is female. Okay, this is the first difference. And the male nucleus is migratory. Okay, so it is motile, it can move, but female nucleus is a stationary. Okay, the female nucleus is a stationary. Now you can see this beautiful diagram. So the male pronucleus will migrate from the above paramecium to the lower one, and similarly the male pronucleus will migrate. So be careful, only a small pronuclei get exchanged. So small pronuclei get exchanged, and now there is a fusion of these 2 nuclei to form a zygote nucleus. It is also called amphinucleus or dikaryon. Okay, so once again we'll revise. So the male pronucleus, they get crossover and fuses with the female nucleus to form the zygote nucleus, and this process is called amphimexis. Okay, and now, so just I will come back. Now after the formation of zygote nucleus, the 2 paramecia get separated, and now these are called X conjugant. For example, see, whenever I will give a general example, see, when we are close friends, so we will be like friends, nothing but conjugants, but due to some problems or due to some issues, they get separated. Now what you will call? You will call he is my ex friend. So like that, here also they are called, in the beginning when they are fused, they are conjugant. After the exchange of nucleus, their work is over. Now they are called X conjugants. Now coming to this diagram, so you can see here in the left side, from each X conjugant 4 paramecia will be formed. So totally we have 2 X conjugant, hence 8 paramecia will be formed at the end of the conjugation process. Okay, so now you can see here the conjugants, they get separated to give X conjugant after 12 to 48 hours. So this process from conjugants to X conjugant, it takes almost 12 hours or 48 hours, nearly 2 days. And the zygote nucleus will divide and produces 4 daughter paramecia from each X conjugant. But remember, at the end, totally we get 8 paramecia from a single parent. And what is the significance of conjugation? If you ask me, it helpful for these 4. I mean, it is important for these 4 processes like rejuvenation, genetic recombination, and a nuclear reorganization and hereditary variation. So because So this exchange of nucleus is very important. It brings about the new changes called variation, and we know that the variation leads to evolution. And what is the importance of conjugation is, if the paramecium reproduce only by means of asexual reproduction, if it is not undergoing the conjugation, it will die. So it's very important for the survival of paramecium, it must undergo the conjugation. So this is all about the morphology as well as the reproduction of paramecium. I hope you understood. So thank you very much for your patience listening.